afternoon is going to be a little better thanks to me. I give myself all the credit. Welcome to Pushing the Limits, broadcasting everywhere. Of course, YouTube, TikTok, Twitch, the FM AM dial, and the Occupy Democrats Network. We ask that you click on that subscribe button. It's only a cup of coffee, $5 a month. You're going to get extra content from yours truly. And we have a big show lined up for you today and a lot to talk about. Obviously, we're following the breaking news that the Senate passing this $95.3 billion foreign aid bill with assistance to Ukraine. We're going to get into that. And Donald Trump making statements over the weekend, basically saying to Vladimir Putin that it's okay for Russia to invade our allies in Europe. I mean, it's so beyond the pale, unbelievable. And then there's Trump going after Nikki Haley's husband serving overseas. Folks, you can't make this stuff up. It just gets worse and worse with this guy. Let me be very clear here. I don't like bringing up Adolf Hitler and Nazi Germany, and I don't think anybody should necessarily be compared to that or anything should be compared to that. But I'm going to in this aspect. Vladimir Putin is aiming to be the next Adolf Hitler. He is an evil, murderous dictator. There's no way around it, folks. And if Vladimir Putin and Russia, if the world allows Vladimir Putin to take over Ukraine, which I don't believe is going to happen, but if it does, guaranteed 100% Taiwan is next. How many more countries will it take if Vladimir Putin invades for people to realize what a threat he is to the world? He wants to be Adolf Hitler. And we have some, luckily not all, luckily not most, but some people like the Tucker Carlsons of the world, like the Donald Trumps of the world, that are pro-Vladimir Putin. Do we understand how dangerous that is? In that puffer of an interview that Tucker Carlson did, do we understand how dangerous it is when we hear this Russian propaganda rhetoric that we hear from time to time on Fox News and from these right-wing entities? It has to stop. If you think we're sending too much money over to the Ukraine, that is a fair conversation to have. But you have people running for office. You have a former president running for the presidency again. And I want to play this audio for you because it is mind-boggling, ladies and gentlemen. It is mind-boggling. Donald Trump, that's right, some of you who still support him, Donald Trump saying he would encourage Russia to attack NATO allies in Europe if they don't spend more on defense. Folks, it's unreal. This is Donald Trump. It's not taken out of context. He's not joking, as I know some of you MAGA morons out there like to make excuses for Cheeto Jesus. This is Donald Trump in his own words.
One of the presidents of a big country stood up and said, well, sir, if we don't pay and we're attacked by Russia, will you protect us? I said, you didn't pay? You're delinquent? He said, yes, let's say that happened. No, I would not protect you. In fact, I would encourage them to do whatever the hell they want. You got to pay.
He would encourage them to do whatever they want. They have to pay. These are our NATO allies. And Donald Trump is encouraging Vladimir Putin, the evil, murderous dictator, to do whatever it takes. Now, there are some Republicans out there that are blasting Donald Trump, rightfully so, for these comments. I've been saying since day one, I don't always agree with Mitt Romney. But I've always said that Mitt Romney is a man of decency. He does have a moral compass. And I appreciate that about him. And I think Mitt Romney is a decent American. He's a good father. He's a good husband. He is a decent man. Again, don't always agree with him on policy, but I respect him. And here is a perfect example why, because Mitt Romney is making the case of why this bill is so important and needs to pass. Have a listen to this.
If we fail to help Ukraine, China will eventually absorb Taiwan. If we fail to help Ukraine, we will abandon our word and our commitment, providing to our friends a view that America cannot be trusted.
What part of that is so hard to understand? Amen. I agree with Mitt Romney 100%. And by the way, I was never blasting Mitt Romney for people out there that want to lie about me. I've been doing radio for 20 years. And a perfect example is when Romney ran against Barack Obama. I didn't vote for either. Why? I liked President Obama. I still do. Thought he was a pretty good president. But I also think Mitt Romney's, as I said before, and I say again, a decent man. I would have been okay with either of them winning. Don't always agree with Mitt Romney on policy. Decent man. And he's on the right side of history here again. And then he starts talking about NATO and starts talking about the despicable comments that Donald Trump made. And you can't use the excuse that Trump was joking. You can't use the excuse that, oh, you're taking it out of context. No, Donald Trump is saying because it's a money issue, he would allow, he thinks, and he's actually encouraging an evil, murderous dictator to attack our NATO allies. And here's what Mitt Romney had to say about that.
If we fail to help Ukraine, NATO, the alliance that's prevented great power conflict for over 75 years, will falter and eventually disintegrate.
He's 100% correct. This is a very, very important time for the world, for this country, for Ukraine, for Russia, for our democracy. You have women being raped in the streets by Russian soldiers while their kids watch and families are being executed. How many innocent people need to die? I don't care what your opinions are on Zelensky. Vladimir Putin cannot win. We cannot allow it to happen. And yes, I understand we have a lot of issues on the home front that need to be taken care of as well. I agree. Doesn't mean we can't do two things at once. This is important for not just this country, not just Ukraine, for the world. And then I do appreciate it when Mitt Romney talks about some of the crazies that are in his own party that'll do anything and everything that Donald Trump tells them to do.
The latest excuse for denying aid to Ukraine is that this bill is a clever disguise to set up an impeachment of Donald Trump at some point in the future. Under this so-called logic, Trump has to be elected, Democrats have to win the House, and those Democrats have to be unable to find any other indiscretion of Donald Trump's upon which to base an impeachment. Now, I know that the shock jocks and online instigators have effectively riled up many in the far reaches of my party. But if your position is being cheered by Vladimir Putin, it's time to reconsider your position.
Yes, that's right. If you take the side of Vladimir Putin, like so many on the far right seem to do today, Mitt Romney is correct. Maybe you should reconsider your position. Why is it that so many people on the far right are pro-Putin? Why is it that there are the Marjorie Taylor Greens of the world, the Tucker Carlsons of the world, the Sean Hannitys of the world that seem never to call out Vladimir Putin? Why is it you've never heard Donald Trump call Putin a dictator like Joe Biden did several months ago? An evil dictator, a murderer, because that's who Vladimir Putin is. Why is it that Donald Trump only praises Vladimir Putin? Explain that to me. Why is that? Why are they so pro-Russia government Vladimir Putin? Why? Answer that question for yourself. If you think we're sending too much money over there, too much aid to the Ukraine, that's one thing. But why do you think so many on the far right want Russia to win this war? Do we understand what is at stake here? Now, if you don't take my word for it, then there's John Bolton, who understands why Trump is so wrong on this issue. And then there's the Marco Rubios of the world who have been wearing the Donald Trump knee pads for years now. And Rubio doesn't seem to take Donald Trump's words seriously. Well, John Bolton has a message for Mr. Marco Rubio.
If you don't think Trump is serious about getting out of NATO, then why did you recently co-sponsor legislation requiring approval by 2/3 of the House and the Senate before a president can withdraw from NATO? Is there some other president or would-be president out there that you think is going to withdraw other than Donald Trump? I'd certainly like to hear that.
Of course, John Bolton is 100% correct. And again, another guy that I don't always agree with, but a man with tremendous experience when it comes to foreign affairs, a man that has worked in multiple administrations. And he is sending a message to the far-right MAGA Republicans out there. What Donald Trump has said in us backing out of NATO, you can't take that tongue-in-cheek. You must take that seriously. You must take everything that Donald Trump says seriously. He is on a world stage. He is the leader of the Republican Party, and his words matter. And these Republicans out there that continue to make excuses for Donald Trump. Oh, he was joking. Oh, you're taking it out of context. Oh, here's what I think Donald Trump meant. No, Donald Trump meant what he said. He wants to take us out of NATO, and he is basically endorsing Vladimir Putin to invade our allies in NATO. Do we understand how dangerous those statements are? Forget about all the other stuff, the 91 felony counts. Forget about, for a moment, the fact that he is a sexual abuser. Forget for a moment our attacks on our democracy about the 2020 election, the lies. He now is endorsing Vladimir Putin, an evil, murderous dictator, to attack other countries in NATO, our allies. I mean, how many times do I have to say it? Do we understand how serious this is? And again, somebody that I don't always agree with, Nikki Haley, she understands the seriousness of these statements, and she spoke about it on Fox News yesterday.
Country. But two, listen to what Putin said. Putin said once he takes Ukraine, Poland and the Baltics are next. Those are NATO countries. That immediately puts America at war. This is about preventing war. This is about keeping an alliance strong. This is about bringing more friends in, not pushing friends away. Donald Trump doesn't get that. And that's what will creep us into war. We can't have that. And so our goal is not to go and blame the American people for feeling the way they do. It's to make sure we get our message out on why they should care and how this is in the best interest of America. And for those politicians who are refusing to say that, that's a disservice to the people that they serve.
Agree, Nikki Haley, 150%. Donald Trump's comments, once again, are dangerous, a threat to democracy. And if you want to make the excuse that it's just tongue-in-cheek and he was just joking, then you are mistaken and you are complicit. And you don't understand, somebody with a platform that Donald Trump has, why his words matter. It is despicable. Now, if you want to know what is in this foreign aid package, which Johnson's already said, this is not going to go through the Senate because of the MAGA Republicans. Make no mistake about it. But the foreign aid package includes billions of dollars to support Ukraine and for security assistance in Israel, which I hear, rightfully so, a lot of people on the far right supporting. Where's their support for Israel now? And humanitarian assistance for civilians in Gaza. I hear a lot of people on the left and right talking about that. This is a good thing, not a bad thing. On one side of the pale, you're supporting the Israeli government assistance. And on the other side of it, humanitarian assistance to Gaza. This should be a win-win, you would think, right? This also helps the West Bank, of course, and Ukraine, among other priorities. Now, Johnson's not going to hold a vote on this. This is not going to pass because of MAGA Republicans. And while all this stuff is going on, right? All this stuff is going on and Donald Trump making more dangerous and crazy comments. I would label it as crazy. We know that Donald Trump has a history of attacking our brave men and women in uniform. They're losers. They're suckers. We remember the comments that he made about John McCain. I don't respect him because he was captured. And then the MAGA morons out there made excuses. Oh, he was just joking. Keep in mind, Donald Trump is the draft dodger himself. Bone spurs, right? He's got bone spurs. Now, if you said he was morbidly obese, which he is, that would probably be a better excuse. Bone spurs. Well, he's played more golf than any other president in 4 years. I have respect for Nikki Haley's family, particularly her husband, who is serving, who is overseas. And Donald Trump took the opportunity to attack Nikki Haley's husband. Where is Nikki Haley's husband? Why is he not with her? Hey, dumbass, because he's overseas protecting you and me, protecting our freedom. He's serving, you stupid idiot. And I'm glad that Nikki Haley is responding to this and calling out what she describes as disgusting comments about her husband. Have a listen to this.
It's disgusting. I mean, every bit of it's disgusting. You know, to sit there and mock my husband for not being with me on the presidential trail because he is deployed and serving our country. You mock one veteran, you're mocking all veterans. But this is a pattern, Dana. He's done this over and over again. Whether he went and calls military members suckers, whether he was at Arlington Cemetery saying what was in it for them, why would they do this? The problem with Trump is he's never been anywhere near a uniform. He apparently had some sort of foot reason that he says he couldn't do that. But the reality is the closest he's come to harm's way is a golf ball hitting him on a golf cart.
She's 150% correct. And for you people out there that are saying he didn't dodge the draft multiple times, well, guess what? The doctor that signed off on Donald Trump having bone spurs, that doctor has since passed away. Multiple members of his immediate family, including his daughters, have openly said in interviews that their father wrote that out to Donald Trump and that Donald Trump did not have bone spurs. It was so Donald Trump could dodge the draft. Why is it that Donald Trump attacks our brave men and women in uniform? Why would he make those comments about John McCain? Why would he make those comments about those laying to rest in Arlington Cemetery? Why would he make these comments about Nikki Haley's husband? I'll tell you why. Because he knows he doesn't have an ounce of the bravery of these brave men and women that served this country, and some of them who paid the ultimate price and lost their lives. Donald Trump is envious and jealous. We all know that he's a narcissist, and we know that he felt this way about John McCain. It wasn't because of policy. It was because we all know, regardless of what your political opinions are of John McCain, and listen, I never always agreed with John McCain on everything, but the man was a POW. He was a prisoner of war who served this country honorably and suffered every day because of it. And anybody, whether you're running for president of the United States, anybody, you are un-American and you shouldn't be in this country if you would attack somebody because they were a prisoner of war. It is one of the most despicable and disgusting things you can say as an American. And that's who Donald Trump is. He attacks our brave men and women in uniform every single day in one way or another. He just did it with Nikki Haley's husband, attacking Nikki Haley and mocking her husband because he's serving overseas, protecting our freedoms. Does it get any more despicable than that? You can talk, and driving into work again today, I go through the channels because it's all right-wing conservative, nut job, echo chamber, right-wing radio. What are they talking about? Are they talking about the serious comments that Donald Trump made about NATO and Vladimir Putin? Are they talking about that? Are they talking about this bill and actually some of the positives that are in this bill for foreign aid? No. Are they talking about the comments that Donald Trump made about Nikki Haley's husband who's serving overseas? No. You know what these right-wing conservative idiot shows, you know what they're talking about today? They're still talking about, Joe Biden's memory, his cognitive decline. That's what they're talking about. Meanwhile, this is the same guy, the orange turd, who says you need ID to buy bread. In the last month, he said that. He's the one who confuses Nancy Pelosi with Nikki Haley in the last month. This is the guy who said Jeb Bush got us into the war in Iraq, who said he defeated Barack Obama. Do you hear these right-wing talk show hosts talking about any of that? Of course, the answer is no. Because they'll take the time and talk about Joe Biden's decline. Let me tell you something, ladies and gentlemen. I'm not a doctor. But I'm going to be non-biased here and tell you that both Donald Trump and Joe Biden are old. Both Donald Trump and Joe Biden, just from an age standpoint, I want people younger in office, and most Americans agree with me on that. But if it comes to Donald Trump and Joe Biden, I'm going to vote for democracy. He's not my first, second, or third choice, but I won't even blink an eye. It's going to be Joe Biden. Sure, Joe Biden has some gaffes. Guess what? So does Donald Trump. Which gaffes are more serious? And this is how despicable some of these Republicans are. Because even in this report, Joe Biden was accused of forgetting of when his son Beau died. And then you have right-wingers on the radio today. Sadly, I was listening for a few moments. Joe Biden lied about how his son died. No, he didn't, you lying scumbags. It is a fact that Beau Biden was stationed near burn pits in Iraq. It is a fact that many of our brave men and women in uniform unfortunately developed cancer And it has been proven that the burn pits can easily cause cancer. That is what Joe Biden was referring to. Beau Biden was a healthy young man, developed cancer, stationed near burn pits. But you won't hear these right-wingers talk about that. Yes, Joe Biden has gaffes. So does Donald Trump. And I would say the gaffes that Donald Trump has are far more serious than anything Joe Biden has ever said. And no, Joe Biden doesn't lie about his son, who served his country honorably. Something that, from what I can tell, nobody in Donald Trump's family has ever done. Donald Trump's two kids, Uday and Kusei, also known as Eric Trump Jr. and Donald Trump Jr., besides stealing from charities, what the hell have those two done in their life that you could say, wow, that's really admirable? Dating Kimberly Guilfoyle? No, seriously. What have his two sons done in their life that you would say, wow, what a patriot? Lying on TV shows every day, on Sean Hannity? What have they done? Oh, and what about his daughter? What has she done? Besides taking hundreds of millions of dollars from the Chinese government, and Jared Kushner, who's accomplished nothing in his life but burning his father's money, accepting over $2 billion from the Saudi government, and I'm sure he'll burn that up as well. What the hell have people in Donald Trump's family ever done for this country besides out for their own and the criminal activity? What the hell has that family done? Beau Biden served this country honorably. He risked his life. And it certainly appears he lost his life because of it. And that's what Joe Biden says when he says, lost my son in Iraq. Go ahead and look it up if you don't believe me, you right-wing turds. Look it up. Because remember this, you're voting for the guy, if you still support the orange turd, you're voting for the guy who dodged the military. You're voting for the guy who called our brave men and women in uniform, our heroes in this country, suckers and losers. You're voting for the guy who endorses and is pushing for Vladimir Putin to invade the countries in NATO, our allies. That's the guy you're voting for. Don't you give me the excuse, oh, I like some of his policies, my eggs are too much. Don't you give me that nonsense. People like Byron Donalds, the drug dealer, goes on Twitter today and says, inflation's up 3.1%. No, it's not. Inflation was at 17%. It's down to 3%. It's not up 3.1%. The drug dealer, Byron Donalds, is a liar. And they have nothing to run on. So what do? They brown-nose Donald Trump because they know that is the Republican MAGA base today. And thank God not every Republican thinks that way like the Byron Donalds do. But in the Republican Party today, you can work with Democrats and try to fix the border. You can work with Democrats like Lankford attempted to do and put forth a bill. And then as Lankford said, as a MAGA Republican, he said he had a right-wing host, could be Sean Hannity, could be Laura Ingraham, I don't know. He didn't mention the name, but he said there was a right-wing host that called him. Even before the bill went public, and the host said, if you pass this bill and make Joe Biden look good, I am going to destroy your career. Because that's what these Republicans really think. That's what Donald Trump thinks. That's what these MAGA Republicans think. They don't care about the border. They don't want to solve the issue. Or if they do want to solve the issue, they want to make sure it's not when a Democrat is in office because they put politics first. They don't care about the border. They don't care about all the gun violence in this country. They don't care about any of that stuff. They don't care about inflation or jobs. They really don't care about these issues. I'm talking about the MAGA far-right Republicans. You know what they care about? They just care about staying in power and doing whatever Cheeto Jesus tells them to do so that they can remain in power. They care more about that than you and me, the American people. They don't care about the border. Sure, they'll go up there and they'll do a photo op. Sure, they'll blast Joe Biden for all issues at the border. But when it comes to an actual bill that can help, an actual bill that can solve some problems, oh, no, we can't pass this bill. Let's wait until a Republican is the president of the United States, and then we'll do it. Because that's really what they care about. So don't complain about the border if you're a Donald Trump supporter and you're a MAGA Republican. I don't want to hear it. Don't complain about inflation when you look at the economy that Joe Biden took over. I don't want to hear it. Because if you really want to solve the problems, then you work with Democrats and you sign off on a bill. You do what Lankford did, and I give him credit for it. You put a bill in place that's not perfect. Both sides aren't going to be completely happy with it, but it's a start. But they will do what Donald Trump tells them to do. If Donald Trump called Mike Johnson today and said, I want you to streak in the front of the halls of Washington, D.C., in front of the House chambers, Johnson would do it if it meant he would remain the House Speaker. They will do whatever Trump tells them to do. If Donald Trump picked up the phone and told Johnson, hey, you know what, let's pass this bill, immediately they would change the tone and they would pass the bill. Because Donald Trump said it himself, he wants the economy to implode. Why? That's not make America first, is it? He wants the country to implode. Here is what we are going to do, ladies and gentlemen. I want to take some phone calls on the other side of the break. What do you think about this Senate bill that was passed, $95.3 billion? Do you disagree with me? Do you think that it's a bad bill and it shouldn't be passed? What are your thoughts on Donald Trump again going after a member of our military, going after Nikki Haley's husband? Where's her husband? Why is he not with her? Because he's overseas, deployed. What do you think about that? If you're thinking of voting for Donald Trump, what do you make of that? The number to call is 702-221-7283. And again, that number, if you would like to be a part of the conversation, it's area code 702-221-SAVE. 702-221-7283, and we are going to take some calls on the other side of the break. Your thoughts next. You're listening to Pushing the Limits. We'll be back in 90 seconds right here on KSH. at ptlradioshow.com. That's sales at ptlradioshow.com. All right, welcome back. It is Pushing the Limits on a Tuesday. Thank you so much for joining us. Coming up in hour number 2, by the way, Blake Wynn's going to be joining us in studio. If you don't know who Blake is, so his grandfather, the former governor of the great state of Nevada, Republican, but a respected Republican. Somebody who was willing to, work across the aisle, a Reagan Republican. So we'll be dissecting Blake, talk a little bit about what he thinks his grandfather would say about the state of the Republican Party today. We'll get that in hour number 2. What have we been talking about? Well, first segment, of course, I've been discussing the Senate passing this $95.3 billion foreign aid bill. So many Republicans out there, probably not enough, but Republicans out there, some at least, blasting Donald Trump for his comments encouraging Russia to invade U.S. allies in Europe if they don't spend more on defense. I mean, it's just absurd. It's disgusting. It's ridiculous. And then you have Donald Trump attacking Nikki Haley's husband. Where's her husband? Well, he's deployed overseas. And Trump knows that. But these are just, as Nikki Haley said, and she's right, disgusting comments. And Donald Trump has a record and a past and a history of going after our brave men and women in uniform. John McCain, Arlington Cemetery, you name it. How could you vote for somebody like that? How? As much as you hate Joe Biden, and some of you, I guess, do, how could you vote for Donald Trump? How could you support somebody like that? Number to call, 702-221-7283. And again, that number, 702-221-7283. Let's start off with a MAGA Trump supporter, as sometimes I do on this show. We can go to Julie, well, I'll have you first up, Julie. Julie, do you defend Donald Trump's comments going after Nikki Haley's husband? Can you defend that?
I have other thoughts in my mind. If you don't mind to debate those with me, I don't care about any personal comment because first of all, I need to watch the entire content.
Right.
I am calling because of NATO.
I'm going to play the audio.
About NATO.
So this has. Okay, I'll get your comments about NATO. I will get your comments on that. You have my word on that. But before I get your comments on NATO, hold on, Julie. Hang on.
I didn't hear Trump over Nikki Haley.
Okay.
So I cannot comment on that.
Okay. So I find that interesting that you don't want to comment on that. But let me ask you another question then. You heard the comments that Donald Trump made about John McCain. He didn't respect John McCain because he was captured. Before we move on to your NATO comments, can you at least admit with me going after a brave man or woman who serves this country because they were captured is inappropriate? Can you at least agree on that very general question?
Why do you want to put words in my mouth, Brian?
I'm not putting words in your mouth. I'm asking you a question, and I will repeat it again. Do you agree? Hold on.
Okay,
well, you said that I'm putting words in your mouth, and I am not. Julie, it's called a question, and I'm going to ask it again, and I'm going to give you the opportunity to answer it. Do you agree with me that when you go after a brave man or woman who serves this country honorably and is a POW, going after them because they were captured, do you agree with me that it is disgusting and inappropriate? Yes or no?
Are you going to disconnect the phone call again?
I'm waiting for you to answer the question. Answer it.
If I answer my question, are you going to disconnect the phone call?
I'm going to ask you one more time to answer. I'm going to ask you one more time, or I am going to disconnect you because you're not answering.
In my opinion, McCain was a traitor. That's my opinion.
Okay, I didn't ask you whether he was a traitor or not, and now I'm going to have to ask the question again for a fourth time because you struggle to understand. I'm going to ask it one more time, and I didn't even mention John McCain's name in the question. I'm going to ask it one more time, and I would like an answer, a direct answer. Do you think it's appropriate to go after a brave man or woman who serves this country honorably that is a POW, going after them because they were captured? Do you believe, like I do, that it's inappropriate and disgusting? Yes or no? Answer the question.
Do you witness firsthand?
Answer the question. Yes, I'm going to ask it.
Do you witness
Answer
that?
the question.
Because
yes
he never
or
said
no?
that. You
Julie,
using
you are
some
Julie,
words.
you are reprehensible, is what you are. That you won't even answer.
No,
that question.
no,
you are
no, you
reprehensible
don't-
and you are deplorable.
No, you
yes,
are
you are.
twisting
Oh, please,
some
pot
words.
her down, pot her down. Julie, you are reprehensible. We are all entitled to our different beliefs and opinions, but when you can't answer a basic question like that, you are a buffoon. Now, I'll let you. You've proven to the world once again what a moron you are because you can't even answer the most basic of questions. But I'll still let you attempt, because I know this is what you're going to try to do, defend Donald Trump's comments on NATO. So go ahead, Julie. Go ahead. Embarrass yourself again.
Do you know the purpose of NATO in the first place and when was created? What year was created? Remind me. What year was NATO created? And what is the purpose of NATO? Go ahead, Brian.
Your comments
Please.
on NATO are asking me when NATO
Yes,
was created.
I'm asking you when
Gotcha.
was created and what is the purpose
Sure,
of NATO?
sure.
What year?
Sure.
What year?
I'll
Go ahead.
answer Julie's quiz question, but before I do that, Julie, I find it very interesting that the start of this segment, the topic was not a quiz on when NATO was created. The topic excuse me, I'm answering your question. Excuse me. Julie.
Come to me. Go ahead.
Julie, I'm going to disconnect you if you interrupt me again. Julie,
Brian.
pot her down. Boy,
When was NATO?
pot her down. Boy, how'd you like to be married to Julie? So what I would like to do, and even though Julie will probably talk over it, is I would like to play the clip where Donald Trump, I think it's the first clip we played in this show today, Justin, if we could do that, because that's the topic. It's not a quiz on NATO. The topic is Donald Trump made statements, and in the statements that he made, he's encouraging Russia to invade U.S. allies in Europe. Now, I'm not taking this out of context. I'm not taking this clip and editing it. This is Donald Trump in his own words. This is Donald J. Trump making comments and encouraging an evil, murderous dictator to attack our allies, countries in NATO. Have a listen to this.
One of the presidents of a big country stood up and said, well, sir, if we don't pay and we're attacked by Russia, will you protect us? I said, you didn't pay? You're delinquent? He said, yes, let's say that happened. No, I would not protect you. In fact, I would encourage them to do whatever the hell they want. You got to pay.
All right, so luckily Julie doesn't dictate the content of this show, thank goodness. But Julie, since you're defending Donald Trump going after John McCain, I'm sure you'll probably also defend Donald Trump in encouraging Vladimir Putin and Russia to invade allies, U.S. allies in Europe. Is that a fair assumption? Are you going to defend that as well?
Why do we need to fund NATO?
That wasn't the question,
Why?
Julie. Have a nice day.
What is the purpose
Have a nice
of
day,
NATO?
Julie. Julie, have a nice day. Julie can't answer a direct question, so it's very impossible and very difficult to have a conversation with Julie. I don't know why I torture myself with it every single day. Let me help Julie out. My first question was, do you think it's fair and do you think it's not disgusting when somebody goes after a brave man or woman, military, for being a POW? Any reasonable human being with an IQ over 20 would say, no, that's despicable, it's disgusting, especially somebody who dodged the military themselves. Julie's not capable of answering the question that way. And then the comments that Donald Trump, with the audio that I just played about encouraging Vladimir Putin to invade more countries, that's really what he's doing. And again, she can't answer that direct question either, but that's Donald Trump's base, ladies and gentlemen. 702-221-7283 is the number to call. Again, the number to call if you want to be a part of the conversation, 702-221-7283. Let's go to Henry. Henry, what's up, man?
Yeah, I just got a question for you, hearing about all the outrage about the military.
Okay.
How come you didn't address the 3 soldiers that died January 28th in the drone strike?
Actually, first of all, I address every soldier that dies overseas, and I've said time and time again, it's a very strange question that you would ask, because I can guarantee you I've done a lot more, and I've worked with our brave men and women in uniform and raising money for charity. So for you to suggest...
No, I'm talking about...
excuse me, sir.
Soldier.
Excuse me, sir.
Excuse me, sir.
Excuse me, sir. I'm answering your question, and you interrupted me, MAGA, so now you're going to sit and hold, okay? The idea that you want to ignore Donald Trump's comments, whether it be about John McCain or Nikki Haley's husband, the idea that you want to just ignore the comments that he made about NATO, and you want to call into the show with your little MAGA fingers and say, ooh, I'm going to try to get Brian because he didn't talk about these soldiers that died. I'm going to make a statement for you, MAGA Henry. Deplorable Henry, I have a statement for you. I have the utmost respect for anybody who serves this country honorably. I have them in studio. I've worked with charities, whether it be veterans in politics, raising money for charity, helping those in need. And whether they're Republican or Democrat, it could be Ron DeSantis. I've praised his military service to this nation. And anybody that loses their life and the families that will grieve and grieve and grieve, whether it be Beau Biden or somebody on the right, doesn't matter to me. You serve this country honorably, you're a hero. And those who lost their lives, whether it's those 3 soldiers or any soldier for that matter, I have the utmost respect for. And I would never make the comments that Donald Trump has made. But you see, Henry, people like you will never criticize Donald Trump. Henry, did you ever criticize Donald Trump for going after POWs? Did you criticize Donald Trump for going after Nikki Haley's husband? Now, I answered your question. Why don't you answer mine? Do you think it's okay for Donald Trump to go after POWs? What do you think about that?
Yep.
You think that's okay? Good, then have a nice day, jackass. You're despicable. You are a despicable turd is what you are. Yep. You are a coward and you are despicable. Donald Trump's base, another despicable turd that thinks it's okay to go after a POW. By the way, I guarantee you Henry is the guy that never served one day. He's never done anything in his life for this country except use his little Trump fingers to call into this show. I bet you didn't talk about those 3 soldiers that lost their life. Nothing about Donald Trump. Nothing about the despicable comments he's made. Suckers and losers. The sucker and loser is Henry, who doesn't have a moral compass. These are MAGA supporters, ladies and gentlemen. Henry, I'm so glad you called in because you're a perfect example of what I'm talking about. People like Henry have no problem with Donald Trump going after our brave men and women in uniform. He could call them suckers and losers. He could go after a POW and say, I don't respect John McCain because he was captured. He can go after Nikki Haley's husband. And idiots like Henry have absolutely no problem with it. But yet they want to call into the show and say, oh, you didn't talk about these soldiers that died. You are not only a hypocrite, but you are a coward, Henry, and you are disgusting and despicable. And when Hillary Clinton called you a deplorable, she was talking about people like you, Henry. Have a nice day. 702-221-7283. And again, the number to call, 702-221-7283. And I reiterate once again, doesn't matter whether you're a Republican or a Democrat, to any decent human being, which clearly Henry is not, and neither is Julie, to any decent human being, they would say, if you serve this country, you're a hero. I've never gone after Ron DeSantis and his service to this nation, and I never will, because I respect it. And even though I disagree with Ron DeSantis, I respect his service to this country. And the fact that there are people out there that think it's okay, and they normalize Donald Trump's statements, I get so frustrated, and it shouldn't happen. All right, let's go to Obi. Obi's next on Pushing Limits. What's up, Obi?
How you doing, Brian? Brian, I want to keep my train of thoughts. Okay. It's good that Yuli's calling every single day because she's proving how stupid she is, and then she tried to look intelligent, asking you, do you know when was created? We all know it was created after World War II, but now, does she know that Article 5 was created after 9/11? Mm-hmm. She doesn't know that. NATO created that. Article 5. So it is like a three musketeer, all for one for all. You understand?
No, I understand, Obi. And I agree with you. Here's the thing that is just mesmerizing to me. I don't think it's a ridiculous opinion, and I think you'll agree with me, to say going after our brave men and women in uniform, Republican or Democrat, is disgusting, and there's no place for that in this country. Like, I don't think that's out of bounds to say that. Donald Trump yesterday went after Nikki Haley's husband, saying, where's Nikki Haley's husband? Why is he not by her side? Because he was deployed overseas. And that's another cheap shot to our military, to our brave men and women who serve this country. And yet a MAGA Republican can't just admit that and say, yeah, that was wrong. He shouldn't have said that. I mean, it's mesmerizing to me.
Yes, you're right. Listen to this. Julie is never going to admit to none of those because she got to face her maggots over there down in Florida. You understand? Because I want you to know that there are a lot of maggots that are listening to you, even if some of them don't call. You understand? From Florida. And she knows you have to face them. That's why she doesn't have the courage, she doesn't have the dignity to say, no, this is wrong. You understand? John McCain was a hero, and Donald Trump is a coward, and Donald Trump is unspeakable. Is a terrible human being, like De Niro said. De Niro said, no, he's not a bad, he's evil. She never going to admit to that. She's all wrong, but
listen,
it's good.
it's-
I'm on record every day, Brian,
Obi,
so we can see how stupid she is.
Yeah, well, Obi, there's a percentage of Donald Trump supporters, and quite a few of them actually, that can't admit Donald Trump can do no wrong to them. He is their messiah, and you're never going to change their minds. We know that. Those aren't the people that I'm worried about because you're not going to change their minds. I want to know, the people out there that are middle America, the people out there that are, don't really associate with the party. Those are the people. Those are the people, and that.
Yeah, but listen. MAGA is going to disappear little by little. Trust me on this.
I hope you're right, Obi.
I
We're on
got it.
we're on the same page, Obi, and I hope you're right. And I appreciate your call, sir. Thank you so much. Okay.
Take care, buddy.
Appreciate it. 702-221-7283. Is it really hard to grasp the fact that going after somebody because they're overseas deployed is despicable and disgusting? When did that turn into a liberal argument? When did that turn into a far left argument? Tanya, I believe, is next on Pushing Limits. Hi, Tanya. How's it going?
Hey, how are you?
I'm doing good, Tanya. Thanks for calling in. What's on
Calling
your
me from Canada.
Oh, cool.
But I'm Canadian.
Yep.
And America doesn't fund NATO. I don't know I listen to you online every day, and that lady Julie calls every day. No, America doesn't fund NATO. What it means to be NATO, what they mean is like using your money then to fund your army, to prop up your army, to get more arms
Right.
for each country. It's not like there is a fund and America is funding each country.
Right.
So what she's listening to, Donald Trump is lying, and he keeps lying to these people, and they keep believing it.
Right, and you know what?
When he says,
You're right.
we're not funding NATO.
Yeah.
America doesn't fund NATO.
I agree
Donald
with you.
Trump,
And I don't think, I think certainly you understand this, but I think there's a percentage of people, Tanya, that don't understand the seriousness of Donald Trump's comments. He is basically endorsing an evil, murderous dictator to attack our allies in Europe. I mean, this is.
and they don't understand if that happens, then it's going to be World War III,
Right.
which Donald Trump doesn't remember, don't understand, because he thinks World War II hasn't begun as yet. We have to remember that part.
Right.
If it happens, then there's going to be people from my country, which is a part of NATO in Canada, people from Europe. It's going to be bad. And who knows if certain people, if it won't be time to be drafted then. Maybe they're going to be drafting people.
And
they don't understand.
What do we need to tell some of these MAGA Republicans on how serious these comments are? You have John Bolton, who worked in the Trump administration, that's doing interviews telling people how serious these comments are. You have people, brave men and women in our military, former members of the military, talking about the outrageous comments that Trump made about NATO, and yet the MAGA Republicans brush it off. Or you have a Julie that will call and say, oh, well, you might have taken it out of context. When it's right there, it was a rally he held over the weekend.
This is something he has been saying for a long time.
Right.
He doesn't respect people who want to go in the army. I think one of his sons wanted to go in the army, and he said if he ever did, he would take him out of the wheel or disown him or whatever.
Right.
You understand what I'm trying to say?
If you don't mind me
have a
asking you,
president
where
that-
well, can I just ask you, I'm sorry to interrupt, where are you originally from?
I'm from Jamaica.
You're from Jamaica. What do you make, and God bless you, what do you make of a former president, the front runner of the Republican Party, calling a country like yours an S-hole country, telling people to
I
go
was
back
just
to where
about
they...
to talk about that with
Yeah.
Julie because I noticed her accent. She's
Right.
not American. She's from one of those S-hole countries as well.
Right.
Okay?
Yeah.
She's one of those, from one of those S-hole countries. So people who are Spanish or black or whatever, you're from S-hole countries. If you are not from Russia, Poland, Germany, whatever, you're from an S-hole country. I just want them to know that. All these people are supporting this man.
You know, it's.
Do you I don't know if they don't understand this. This is crazy. How can he be saying that I'm talking about Nikki
what it
Haley's
is, Tanya?
husband? Where is his wife?
Right.
Where is his wife?
And Tanya, they are brainwashed. If you watch Newsmax and Fox News and you listen to right-wing conservative radio, there's a lot of hatred and bigotry and lies, and they are all brainwashed. And they
are.
Yeah, there's really no other way to put it. Yeah.
I do listen to those stations I watch because I want to enlighten myself and see what are these people listening to? What are they watching? And when I listen and watch these
You know what I wanted to do,
like,
Tanya?
oh my God.
You can tell me if you think I did the right thing or not. And I'm going to give you a quick story of what we're talking about. So I was at a live golf tournament here in Las Vegas a few days ago, and I saw Brett Baer was there. Brett Baer from Fox News. He was with his kids. Now, what I wanted, or what I would have liked to have said to him is, Brett, you know, I know you're a smart guy. Do you realize what you guys do on Fox News, the danger it is for this country, what you guys do? Now, I wanted to say that. I didn't because he was with his family. But that's what I would say to some of these people, because I don't think Brett Baer is a dumb guy. He knows what he does on Fox News. Yeah, I mean, what they do, it's a danger to this country. The brainwashed people.
Is.
Yeah. It really is. Well, Tanya, I'm glad there are people like you out there. Please speaking up, and God bless you. You sound like a lovely lady, and you know,
keep up your good job. I love your show.
Thank you, Tanya.
Have a good day.
You as well.
Bye-bye.
You have a good day as well, Tanya. It's good to hear from you from Canada, eh? I love it. People listening to my show from Canada. I love my Canadian folks out there. 702-221-7283 is the number to call. And again, that number, if you want to be a part of the conversation, is 702-221-SAVE. I believe we're going to go to Roy, who's next on Pushing the Limits. Hi, Roy. Thanks for calling in to Pushing the Limits. Do we have Roy on the line? 702-221-7283.
Hi, Brian.
Hi, Roy. How's it going?
How you doing today? Good. Interesting thought, though. Most of these people who support Donald Trump, they watch Fox News, they watch Newsmax, they watch these stations. They don't hear what you're talking about. You ask some of them, like, you remember when Donald Trump said to ingest bleach during the pandemic? They look at you like you got two heads.
Right.
They don't get the news. That's part of the problem. The word is not out there what a moron and how crazy this man is.
Right.
And what's very scary, I don't think he's going to win, but the Supreme Court, who I have no respect for, they have a chance to take that immunity case and shove it back to the courts and let this go through. Let the courts do their thing before the election. Because a lot of these idiot Republicans will not vote for him if he's a convicted felon. Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. And it's very important because we can't count on the Electoral College where only a handful of states determine who becomes president, not the popular vote.
Roy, I want to go back to what you said because I think it's really important. You know, for the MAGA Republicans out there, the cult, as I like to call them, they don't even remember, or it wasn't even covered, the comments that Trump made about John McCain or the comments he made about NATO. They might speak about it in jest, but they don't cover it in, you know, what they will do is they will continue to cover how Joe Biden is losing his memory and his cognitive, problems that he's facing. You'll hear about that 24/7. You won't hear the comments of Donald Trump saying you need, just in the last month, you need ID to buy bread, or that Jeb Bush got us into the war in Iraq, or confusing Nancy Pelosi with Nikki Haley. They don't cover any of that stuff because it's not Fox News, it's Fox Noise. That's what it is.
You're right, and that's the problem. They don't see what a buffoon this man really is.
Yeah.
And as far as the military goes, I mean, I call him Mr. Bone Spurs. The man is a disgrace. Mm-hmm. There's no other way to put it.
What else would you describe somebody who dodges our military multiple times, and after dodging our military multiple times, he calls them suckers and losers? Arlington Cemetery, his statements there, his statements about John McCain, and now we have his statements about Nikki Haley's husband. He's mocking Nikki Haley's husband. Meanwhile, the guy's deployed overseas. I mean, this is beyond the pale of despicable.
The most infuriating part is that the bulk of the Republican Party doesn't give a damn. They are so afraid.
Sadly, you're right.
To speak against this man.
Yeah.
It's pathetic. I mean, they're more worried about what books are in the library and the rest of the world is on fire.
Roy, sadly, I agree with you. I wish I didn't, but I do, and it's some really strange times we're living in. Roy, it's always good to hear from you, and I really do appreciate your call,
Thanks,
sir.
Brian.
Thank you so much. 702-221-7283 is the number to call. And again, talking about Donald Trump's comments about Nikki Haley's husband, a man who is overseas, deployed overseas, and Trump is mocking him for not being here with Nikki Haley. I mean, you want to talk about beyond the pale. If you can't even admit that, then I don't know what to tell you. 702-221-7283. Let's go to Lauren, who's next up on Pushing the Limits. Hi, Lauren.
Hi, Brian.
How you doing, Lauren?
I'm doing good. How about you?
Good, good. What's on your mind, my friend?
On the NATO issue, I actually served in NATO.
Mm-hmm.
The plan is that each nation is to contribute 2% of their GDP. And unfortunately, over the decades, many of the countries did not do that. Mm-hmm. Now, the comment that Trump made, even though I have voted for him, I think that was wrong. As far as the issue with Nikki Haley's husband, politics as usual.
Is that politics? Hold on a second. Is that politics as usual? I respect the fact that you're willing to call out Trump for his comments. I appreciate that. But when you say politics as usual, let me ask you a question. Have you ever heard Joe Biden make a statement like that ever in the history of him being in office? Forget about even him as president. Have you ever heard Joe Biden make a statement and mocking somebody for being overseas deployed or going after someone for a POW? Because I disagree with you. I don't think that's politics as usual. I think that's a despicable man making despicable comments.
Over the decades, Joe has made a lot of
okay, so give me an example
that he shouldn't have made.
Okay, so what did he make about a brave man or woman overseas poo-pooing their service?
I didn't say it. I mean, I'm not saying that he necessarily
that was my
made
question. I'm sure, Lauren, I'm sure he's made comments in the past that you disagree with, but nothing that even come close to the comments that Donald Trump has made about our brave men and women, suckers and losers. I don't respect him because he was captured. Now,
I don't agree with any of that myself. I think that it's. Having served myself, I think that those types of comments are completely out of line.
How can you vote for that? How can you support somebody like that, Lauren? How?
Well, it's like this, Brian. If you're gonna vote, and even though you're gonna vote for the person that has either demonstrated that they're in line with what you want them to support or to push through. Now, for decades, we have been stuck with candidates that are, less than honorable, and this has been my entire life.
I know, but Lauren, hold on. This is different. I get what you are saying, but we're not talking about somebody that might not be honorable. We're talking about somebody, unlike you, somebody that dodged the military multiple times, who calls our brave men and women losers and suckers. This is not politics as usual. This is a deranged man, a despicable man, a coward, a man that is mentally ill. And I know you don't like Joe Biden. I understand you're not a Democrat. I get it. And I understand that Joe Biden is old. He's not the same guy he was 10 years ago. But if the decision is between Donald Trump and Joe Biden, as somebody like yourself, and I appreciate your service to this country, I'm still trying to understand if the decision was today, how on earth can you support Donald Trump? I don't understand it.
Because he tried to do something with the border.
What? Okay, hold on. Let's go with that. Let's go with that. He tried to do something with the border. In 2016, he ran on something. He said, we're going to build a wall, and Mexico's going to pay for it. He built 16% of the wall. Mexico didn't pay for it, and there were thousands of kids when he was president that were ripped apart from their families. He didn't do anything to fix the border. He failed. So my question to you is not going back to 2016 or 2020, going back to now. My question is, why would you support him now? Not back in 2016. I get that. I'm talking about now, Lauren.
Okay, now it's the same thing. It's the border. The economy sucks.
So you think Donald Trump cares?
You know,
First of all, the economy doesn't suck. We'll get to that in a moment.
does
But
suck.
no, it doesn't. I'll get to that in a moment. But
Brian,
hold on. Let's focus on the border.
How many kids? Hold on. How big is your family?
Okay, Lauren, I'll get to the border with you in a moment. Let's focus. Or I'm sorry, I'll get to that aspect of the economy in a moment. Let's focus on the border still. Donald Trump, we have a bill that is put forth. Okay, now you might not love the bill, but Republicans and Democrats work together for once and put this bill down. Donald Trump has told Republicans that he doesn't want the bill to pass and he wants to wait until he's the president. So I believe you when you say you're genuinely concerned about the border. I am as well. A lot of Americans are. But why would you vote for a guy that puts himself first and says, I don't want the bill to pass, not because I don't like the bill, but because it'll make Joe Biden look good. Wait till I'm in office. How can you support that? I don't understand.
Well, I
think it's a fair question. It's a fair question.
The bottom line is, you don't want me to go back to 2016, so I won't. The bottom line is, his intention and what he wants to do is to secure the border.
Okay, so if that was his intention, and you were correct, then why would he tell Republicans not to sign off on the bill until he is the president? Why would he say he wants the economy to crumble? If it's America first, which it's not, why would he do that? And why would you support a guy that puts himself first? That's my question.
Because it was changing regulations as far as immigration status. That's why. That's why he did not want the bill to pass.
Lauren, he told House Republicans that he wanted to wait and pass the bill when he was the president. He told House Republicans that.
You know, Brian, I'm sorry. We vote. I mean, other than you, we vote for people that hopefully are going to do the things that we want them to do. Okay. Now, and that
what did he do?
And
what did he do when he was president? What did he do?
Well, he definitely made an attempt to secure the border.
He failed. That's a failed policy. You admire somebody with failed policy? He failed.
Well, let's put it in perspective if you want to go there. Now, we're not going back to 2016, I thought.
He failed.
Okay, even though he had both the Congress and the Senate during 2016,
he lost that. He lost the House and the Senate. He lost the House and the Senate.
I'm trying to answer your question, Brian.
Okay, but he lost the House and the Senate. Let's not make it like he's a champion there.
No, what I'm saying is in 2016, when he had both houses when he became president, he did not have the support from Ryan, who was the Speaker of the House, and he did not have support from well, he's the minority leader now.
All right. Well, Lauren, with all due respect, you're not making sense to me. But let's talk about the economy now. You said the economy is in shambles. No, it's not. Inflation's down from 7.
I did not say it was in shambles.
Well,
that's your word.
You used a term. What was the word you used?
It's terrible.
Okay, let's go to terrible. Was the economy terrible when Joe Biden took it over? How was the economy when it was left for him compared to what Obama left? Let's go there first. What type of economy did Joe Biden take over? What type of economy did Donald Trump leave for Joe Biden?
Well, do we have a pandemic?
I didn't ask you about the pandemic. The question was about the economy.
I
didn't ask you cause and effect. I asked you a simple question. What type of economy did Donald Trump leave Joe Biden? I didn't ask you for causes. We can talk about that later. What type of economy?
I was working 6 days a week.
Okay, so I'll answer your question. Joe Biden took over my question. Joe Biden took over a terrible economy. Inflation is down from 16% to 3.1%. Unemployment is the lowest it's been in 50 years. The wage growth is the best it's been in decades. NASDAQ has record highs. Manufacturing jobs are at an all-time high. Things are not perfect and things are not as good as they were pre-pandemic, but if you compare this country to all the other countries that we compare ourselves to, the economy, okay, well, guess
this
what?
country. I live in the United
Guess
States.
what?
I
Guess
do
what,
not live anywhere else.
Lauren, economists do, okay? People that I
I
respect
care
do.
about the border.
Okay.
I care about the economy.
Okay.
I care about
And
a
if you
strong
and
military.
if you're honest about the economy, you would admit that we're doing pretty damn good compared to
No,
all the other
I am
countries.
not doing pretty damn good.
Based on
Everybody I
what?
talk
Based
to
on
is
what
not doing
numbers?
pretty damn
Based
good.
on what numbers since Donald Trump took
I,
over?
and I am married to a Democrat,
Okay.
and I'm a Republican.
Doesn't matter whether
So
you're.
it doesn't make any difference to
It
me
doesn't
what
matter.
party you're in.
I appreciate that, but it doesn't matter whether you're a Republican or Democrat. You said the economy is not doing well. I just gave you actual stats, not opinions. And what is your
You know
retort
what,
to that?
Brian? Were you required to take a statistics class when you were going to
What
when you were
does
in
that?
college?
What does that have to
I'm
do with the
asking you a
stats I just
question.
gave you?
It's
Which
a
is
simple
not has
question.
no bearing on the
Because you make
conversation.
the figures look the way you want them to look, to
Okay.
make you look
No,
good.
that is not
That's
true,
why.
sir. That is not
That
true.
is true. That's
sir,
very true.
Sir, the stats I'm getting are not from an education that I have or do not have. The stats are actually coming from the government, inflation,
Oh,
the
my
unemployment,
goodness.
the unemployment numbers. Okay, Lauren, I got to let you go because your phone is bad. You lose the argument when now you're trying to go after my education. I just gave you a bunch of stats about the economy. The economy is not in shambles. I just made the case that if you're talking about Donald Trump and the border, he doesn't want the border fixed until he's president. He doesn't care about the border. And your retort to that is, where did you get your education from? Lauren, that's when you lose the argument. I appreciate your call. 702-221-7283 is the number to call. Let's go to Antonio. Antonio is next. What's up, Antonio?
Hey, Brian. Hopefully I don't sound like too much of an Obama phone like the last caller.
I hope not. You sound loud and clear, my friend. Go right ahead.
Awesome. But I was just thinking, all these MAGAs on the left want more and more isolationism, I would call it. Let's go ahead and check on North Korea and Russia and how those governments are doing with their isolationist views.
Mm-hmm.
And then check back on how they want NATO to crumble apart. And let's see what happens when that happens.
That's scary. It's a good point you're making, though. And, you know, Donald Trump is the guy who wrote love letters to Kim Jong-un and has never said one negative thing about Vladimir Putin. I wonder why that is, Antonio.
Yeah, have you seen the picture of Vladimir Putin and the orange Jesus on the horse together?
I did see that. I've seen some very I did see some very interesting memes and images. Let me ask you a question, Antonio, because it's a question that I ask myself a lot. Why do you think it is that Donald Trump caves in to Vladimir Putin, never will call him a dictator, never will say one negative thing about Vladimir Putin? Why do you think that is? Because I don't know.
I think it's because of his fetish toward strong men, and he wants some sort of money under the table, I'm willing to bet. Not that Russia has much money right now, but
yeah,
I'm pretty sure it's something for his own pocket.
Yeah.
Because I'm only 23. I turned 24 in May, and you do the math. I was born in 2000. My first election I took place in was 2020.
Oh, wow.
I've never had a normal election in my life.
I guess you haven't, yeah. My first election was Al Gore, George W. Bush. I thought that was crazy, but this is beyond what's going on right now is beyond the pale, Antonio. And you know, when you look at Fox News and the $800 million Dominion suit and the lies that are spread and the propaganda about the 2020 election, it really are very strange times that we're living in.
Yeah, and speaking of Fox News, I was listening to KDON earlier this morning, and Sean Hannity is still talking about the Hunter Biden laptop like a broken record. Like just today, he's talking about Hunter Biden's laptop.
Let me be very clear on Sean Hannity. My first run-in with him was at the Democrat National Convention in Boston. I was in my early 20s. That guy is such a pig, and he's such a two-faced fraud. This is the guy behind closed doors that said he knew that Donald Trump was full of you-know-what when it came to the election interference in the 2020 election, but he would never make those same statements on the air. And all I can tell you, Antonio, is this. For people that have been listening to me on the air for 20 years, there is nothing I wouldn't say off the air that I say on the air. I'm the same person for the most part off the air, although I don't like talking politics off the air because this is my job. But, nothing I have ever said on the air, I would be two-faced and not say off the air. And Sean Hannity is a two-faced coward. He is a coward. He spreads propaganda. Ted Koppel was right about him when he said he was dangerous for this country, and he's despicable. He is absolutely. I want to know. Representative Langford said that a big right-wing host told him not to pass this bill because they would ruin his career. I wouldn't be surprised if that was Sean Hannity who called him. I really wouldn't.
Yeah, I agree. Or it was probably the other nut job, Mark Levin.
Yeah, that Mark. Are you a liberal? God, I hate that turd. Are you a liberal? Mark Levin. Oh God, that guy is such a turd. It's unbelievable. Antonio, I'm glad there's people out there like you. We need more people your age voting, and we got to get the word out because they ain't going to be voting for Donald Trump, my friend. And I appreciate you calling in, Antonio. I hope we have some normal elections for you in the future. You deserve that. Okay.
Yep, I hope so too, man. Yep.
Thanks for
what you do.
Thanks, Antonio. Appreciate the call, my friend. 702-221-7283. Let's go to Susan. Susan is next on Pushing Limits. What's up, Susan?
Hey, I just wanted to talk about what we're talking about. I watched both Biden's most recent speech and Trump's most recent speech, and I noticed a very big difference. Biden was talking about his policies and what he's accomplished during his presidency, and Trump was slamming on whoever he could and touting his own victories, but not any accomplishments that he made. He was touting primary victories,
right?
And he said that he took the Virgin Islands in a landslide.
Mm-hmm.
Well, if you look at the individual caucuses for both Democrats and Republicans, Trump took 65 electors and Biden took 91.
Mm-hmm.
So
speaking of that,
landslide there.
Yeah, I agree. And speaking of that, if there was no electoral college, which by the way there shouldn't be, it's ridiculous. It should just be popular
I don't
vote.
think so either.
Yeah, Republicans would never win another presidential election in my lifetime. They've lost 6 of their last
that's
7.
True.
People forget that Donald Trump lost the popular vote to Hillary Clinton. People forget about that. Republicans do. I guess they're all in the bunker. I guess all these Republicans that forget about that are, I guess, some of the same Republicans that might have Alzheimer's and they might be in the bunker and they might have cognitive difficulties. I don't know.
Yeah.
I guess I can play doctor too, just like they play.
Yeah. You did say something that I thought was really great, and you said it doesn't mean that we can't do two things at once when you were talking about
right.
Ukraine, the funding and things.
Right,
yeah.
the border and Ukraine. Yeah, we can do two things at once. Yep.
Yeah, that's, I don't understand why people have such a problem with that.
I'll tell you why.
We've been doing that for hundreds of years.
I'll tell you why, because it's another opportunity for right-wingers to go after Joe Biden. It's another opportunity for right-wingers to make sure that a bill never gets passed and to try to make Joe Biden look bad and to do everything and anything that Donald Trump tells them to do because they're MAGA robots is what they are. These people in Washington.
Yes.
They're MAGA robots. They'll
Yes.
do anything Donald Trump tells them to do because that's the base of the Republican Party today. That's why.
Okay.
Yeah.
I was also wondering something kind of funny. Why do you call his sons Uday and Kusei? I must have missed something.
Oh, well, it's a shot at a joke because those were the sons of Osama bin Laden. It's a cheap shot at Donald Trump's idiot 2 sons who have done nothing in society but steal money from charities and lie. And a lot of people, the same reason why a lot of people like to go after Hunter Biden, people on the far right. Okay, well, I can play that same game. I can go after Donald Trump's family because I'll take Joe Biden's family, some of whom are heroes who served this country honorably over Donald Trump's family any day of the week. Uday and Kusei, also known as Eric Trump Jr. and Donald Trump Jr., who's also known as Biff, and his daughter are useless. They're useless and they're thieves. And in my opinion, criminals. So if people want to go after Joe Biden's family, I'll raise you one. I'll take you Donald Trump's family, far worse.
Yeah, and I'd go as far to say that Kushner and his daughter are guilty of treason as well as him.
Absolutely. I don't disagree with that at all. And it's just a despicable family. It really is. And then people are, where's Melania? Yeah, she doesn't really hang out with Trump much at all these days. She made an appearance with him at Mar-a-Lago. I'm sure it's part of their marriage contract deal. I think there's somebody that hates Donald Trump more than I do, and her name is Melania Trump, ladies and gentlemen. When was the last time you even saw them kiss each other? I mean, you look at Michelle Obama and Barack Obama, they love one another. Even Joe and Dr. Jill Biden, they love one another. It's a real marriage. I think we all could agree, Melania and Donald Trump. Donald Trump's never really truly had any woman that ever truly loved him in his life. That's my personal
Well, it's been
opinion.
a contract marriage from the start.
Absolutely. Can you imagine? Can you imagine having to have sexual relations with Donald Trump? Oh my God.
No.
I feel bad for any woman that has to go through that 8 seconds of hell.
I would shoot myself.
yeah, I don't blame you. Hey, Susan, it's good to hear from you, Susan. Thank you for the phone call, okay?
You betcha.
All right, you take care. 702-221-7283 is the number to call. Let's go to Bill. Bill is next. What's up, Bill?
Yes, am I on now?
Yes, sir, you are on.
Okay. I wanted to make a couple comments. First of all, I think we need to spend more time trying to get the House and the Senate under control. Trump will not be nearly as dangerous if we control the House and the Senate. Mm-hmm. But that's one thing. Mm-hmm. Secondly, this idea that Trump, they give him too much credit about what he did and what he didn't do, and that I don't think basically he has done anything. Mm-hmm. It's the people around him. It's the Stephen Miller. It's the Banyan. It's those guys that control him. Trump is not smart enough to do any of the things people give him credit
Stephen
for.
Miller.
Give him credit.
I agree. That's very well said. And speaking of Stephen Miller, how many minorities do you think are in his contacts in his cell phone?
I have no idea. He looked so much like a Nazi. I believe he's Jewish, though. That's which seems strange, but he looks like a Nazi.
I would be willing to say this. I'm not going to go that far, but I'd be willing to say this. Stephen Miller is a racist. He is a racist. He doesn't want brown people coming into this country, legal or illegal. Now, he'll say to the contrary, I just want people to come in the right way. No, he doesn't. He wants more people to look like him. He wants it to be white America. Stephen Miller is a racist, and unfortunately, those are the people that surround themselves, and those still are some of Donald Trump's biggest supporters.
I would agree he's a racist, but I would say it's even wider. He's against the human race. He's because he's not part of it, I don't think. Stephen Miller is really one. And we don't hear enough about the fact that when Donald talked about he only knows good people.
Yeah.
Almost every single individual in his administration has either been indicted, arrested, something wrong.
Or filed bankruptcy.
Yeah, and he surrounds himself with those people, and those people make him do the things he is. He's not a smart individual.
My mom, you're right.
Any of those things.
My mom told me at a young age, you are who you hang out with. And
she was
exactly
right. And,
she was right.
And the people that he surrounds himself with are worthless. And we talk about Donald Trump, and nobody hates him more than I do. But the situation is that as bad as he is, I don't think he's as bad as the Republicans in the House and in the Senate who follow him, who know better.
Agree.
But yet, I would say to them, are you afraid that he might call you a name? Is that what the problem seems to be?
I agree. That's a phenomenal point, and that's why I have respect for Mitt Romney and the Liz Cheneys of the world and the Adam Kinzingers, because they decided to do what's right, before, worrying about staying in political power that they have, and that's why I have the utmost respect for them. But we need more of them, Bill, and I really do appreciate your call. And
there's one other thing I'd like to mention.
Sure.
We don't hear enough, and I think you kind of touched on it about how he's a sick man. But the reason he's sick is because of his narcissism. He has done nothing in his entire life that is not rooted in narcissism.
Agree.
Nothing whatsoever.
The guy
nothing at all.
Agree. The guy sits in front of his mirror for 45 minutes and puts on 5 layers of makeup, looking like a clown. He is beyond mentally ill, and I agree with you. I mean, he's a sick man, and I think his father has something to do with that. Bill, I do appreciate the call, sir. Thank you so much. It's good to hear from you. Now, I know we have some other people on hold, so we'll get to those calls on the other side of the break. Carl, Anthony, Kevin, we will be getting to all your calls on the other side of the break, so sit tight. After we take a break, coming back, my good friend Blake Gwynn's going to be joining us in studio. Of course, his grandfather, the late, great Kenny Gwynn, was the former governor of the great state of Nevada. Republican who was willing to work on the other side, a Reagan Republican. What would his grandfather have said about the Republican Party today? We'll talk to Blake coming up next, and we'll take your calls on the other side, so sit tight. 702-221-7283. Be back right after this. It's Pushing the Limits right here on KSHP. Did you know that All right, welcome back. It is Pushing the Limits on a Tuesday. Thank you so much for joining us. Quick programming note. Yes, tomorrow Hunter Kane will be joining us in studio, running for office here in Clark County. Great guy, running as a Democrat. That's not why he's great, but he's on the right side of history when it comes to Trump. But he's going to be joining us in studio tomorrow, so certainly looking forward to that. Pick his brain on, well, a lot of different things that we've been talking about today. For just joining us, the $95.3 billion foreign aid bill that passed, Donald Trump's comments about NATO, which I think any reasonable person would call dangerous and despicable, and then Donald Trump going after Nikki Haley's husband, who's deployed overseas. I mean, it just, you can't make this stuff up. If you're watching us on the Occupy Democrats Network, I ask, click on that subscribe button. It's only $5 a month. You're supporting what I do, and you get personal access to me, yours truly. Also, my socials, at PTL Radio Show on YouTube, TikTok. You could also find me on Facebook. Just look for the pasty white guy wearing a cap. That would be me. Add me as a friend on there. So, joining us right now in studio, it's been a little while. His name is Blake Gwynn, and that name might sound a little bit familiar. And the reason why that would is because his grandfather, Kenny Gwynn, was great governor, the late, great Kenny Gwynn, who sadly passed away at the age of 73 in a horrible accident. But Kenny was a great governor, worked across the aisle, a moderate Republican, and we need more moderates on both sides of the aisle. Blake, it's good to see you, my friend. It's been a little while. How are you?
I'm great, man. So when I subscribe to the Occupy, do I get like your OnlyFans as well, or is it just...
Yeah, that's where I take all my clothes off. Yeah, that's exactly. If that's what you want to see, we can work something out. Yeah, if that's what you want to see, I'll do anything for the dollar bill, my friend.
Oh, man, it's been too long. Thank you very much for having me.
Of course. No, I appreciate you being here. I want to pick your brain on a lot of things.
All right, let's go for it.
Politics first. What do you think your grandfather, so well respected as the governor of this state, both Democrats and Republicans, like I've never heard anybody say anything negative about the guy. What do you think your grandfather would say about the state of the Republican Party today?
Well, here's what I can tell you, because my grandfather was more state. He was more Nevada. So I'll kind of keep it more Nevada. The state of the current Republican Party in the state of Nevada is that everybody is gathered and going behind Joe Lombardo. So the Republican Party is strong in Nevada, and it's not because of Michael McDonald and the state GOP, but because of Joe Lombardo, the state GOP is really getting behind him. And there's a couple things. One, it's the veto power. And so I don't think that any side of the aisle, whether it's Republicans or Democrats, should ever have a supermajority. And so right now, Democrats are leaning and have been really on that supermajority. And so if they get that supermajority, then there's no way that Lombardo can do a veto. And so Lombardo right now is actually recruiting some really fantastic candidates that I think are going to be more moderate, more center.
I hope so.
I do too, because one thing the Republican Party has not done well in this state is we have not drafted and interviewed and vetted good candidates that represent the state of Nevada.
You think? Joe Lombardo, who is a Republican, those of you unaware that he is the governor of the state of Nevada, he doesn't show up to Donald Trump's rally in Vegas a few weeks ago, but he endorses Donald Trump, and I heard he was very much pressured into doing so. That's what I heard. Do you believe that?
Yeah, I have no comment. I mean, I have no clue. I don't talk to Joe Lombardo. I do talk to a lot of his team. Some of Lombardo's people are going to be helping us run for County Commission F here in a couple years. The people around him are good people. I don't know if they would pressure him, but I think just kind of bring party unity. I think that's something that he decided that he was going to do is endorse.
What do you make of this caucus? You've been very much involved in the Republican Party in the state of Nevada.
Yeah.
What do you make of some people saying the fix was in, that Mike McDonald, the fix was in for Donald Trump, and obviously Nikki Haley didn't pay much attention to Nevada because of it? What do you make of that?
So,
and do you agree with that characterization that the fix was in?
Well, let's touch back. So Mike McDonald and the state GOP decided to go to a caucus during the last summer, right? And it was essentially to bypass the primary election. So that's what got us into the caucus. And a lot of people, I don't know how many darn phone calls. Hey, I got my Republican primary. Where the hell is Donald Trump on this? Why is Mike Pence on here? Why is all this? I'm like, right. I mean, this is something that was decided where we're not going to do a primary. So if you did the primary, you couldn't do a caucus. If you did the caucus, you couldn't do the primary. Regardless, the people of Nevada, the Republicans, ultimately said that Trump would win. They voted none of the above for Nikki Haley, and 98% of the caucus vote went to Trump. So for good or bad, for all the confusion of the primary versus caucus, it wouldn't have really mattered in the long run because
I agree.
Trump won in a landslide.
So I agree that he would have won anyway. I think that's obvious. I just think that what McDonald did, the Nevada Republican chair, he played his shenanigan game. And he made sure he could do everything he could do to make sure that Donald Trump wins. And that is not the job of the chair of the Republican Party to do.
I absolutely agree with you. And the confusion that it brought up. I mean, I have longtime Republicans who are going, what the hell is happening? I got my own family like, we need to sit down and talk about this. I'm like, there's nothing to talk about. They did it to bypass the primary in case where Donald Trump was barred from being on the primary ballot. That's what they went with the caucus for.
Right.
I don't agree with it. I hate caucusing. You only had 2.5 hours to get to where you were going for your precinct. It made it incredibly difficult for people to go and participate.
Yeah, but these are the same people that are preaching election integrity. Why don't we take some calls, Blake? What do you think? Let's see what people think out there.
Hit some headphones here?
You'll be able to hear it. 702-221-7283. And again, that number to call if you want to be a part of the conversation. We got Blake Gwynn in studio, his grandfather, the great governor of the state of Nevada, the late, great Kenny Gwynn, who was a Republican, more of a Reagan Republican, who worked on the other side of the aisle, well-respected. Boy, has the Republican Party changed today. 702-221-7283 is the number to call. Let's go to Stephanie. Stephanie is next up on Pushing the Limits. Hi, Stephanie.
Hello, hi Brian, how are you?
Hi, good. What's on your mind?
Nothing, just wanted to just kind of talk about some things that are just going on in our country right now. I appreciate everything that you do. I try to listen to you when I can.
Thank you.
A lot of times you're on when I'm working, so I don't get a chance to catch you, but I was able to catch you today.
Podcast. Watch the podcast, Stephanie. Yeah.
I know. Like I said, I'm at work, so I can't really be on my phone, so I'm on like a 2-hour break right now. So I was like, let me see if I can get in and talk to him.
Tell your boss that my show is more important. No, don't do that. Because if you get fired, I don't want you to blame me. So no, don't do that. Don't do that.
I got you. No, but it is important because I'm 42. My first election that I ever took part in was Obama in 2008. And I never was a person that kind of was into politics growing up. And as soon as Trump got elected, it was just something, I'm an empath, so I can kind of read people and energy very, very well for people. And it just was something about him. I knew about his past in New York in the 80s and the 90s. And I kept telling people, like, dude, if this man gets into office, like, it's going to be horrible. And I used to be more of a centrist, because I do believe there's good and bad on both sides. But I just think that as of right now, that the right has gone so far. And then I'm also a black lesbian. So for me, it's kind of like I tell people, like, I cannot vote for a side that don't want me to be around as a human being, that doesn't see me as a human being. And I'm forced to vote left just because of that reason, because it's like me wanting to continue to hang out with a bully. Right? If somebody's bullying you and you want to continue to hang out with them, like, that's crazy. Like, why would I want to continue to hang out with you? So for me, I kind of get forced to voting left. And am I a Biden fan? Absolutely not. I don't believe that any politician, number one, should be looked up to as an idol because they work for us. People forget that. Yep. But like for me, becoming more and more into politics and seeing how our government actually works and seeing how people are finding loopholes to just kind of get away with things is mind-boggling. And it's like, for me, if I did anything wrong at my job, I would get fired.
Right.
Period.
Yeah.
And the fact that Trump could commit all these crimes, and if Biden has committed crimes, fine. Show me the evidence. I don't want to just hear you say,
Blake,
he's done this, he's done that.
I want to, if I may, Blake, I want to ask you this, because here you have a lovely lady, a black woman who is a lesbian, and she feels like, and I understand where she's coming from, I don't blame her, she can't vote for a Republican because she feels like the party is out to get her and doesn't treat her like a human. Now, I don't feel every Republican is like that. I'm sure she would agree with me on that.
Right.
But what do you make of that? You're a lifelong Republican. You're a good, what I would consider Blake is a reasonable Republican, nice family, and I know Blake is not like that. What would you say to her as a Republican?
I would say that I'm sorry that you feel disenfranchised by the national state party of the Republicans. What I can tell you is there are young, energetic, and people in the Republican Party that are moving and making moves within the state of Nevada, if that's where you're at, that are actively trying to make sure that more people are included. Look, I don't care if you're black, lesbian. You do you. You love who you want. I don't care. I think that more people should embrace that. I don't feel like it should be a party identity that you go, I'm a Republican because I hate gays. I am a Democrat because I'm a black gay woman. I think it's horrible that we should even do that. You know, I think what we need to get to is people need to stop voting and basing their politics based on emotion rather than let's go with policy. And right now, the Republican policy does not really support you, at least on a national stage. Locally, you are supported here, at least in the state of Nevada. And I hear you.
Yeah, I'm in the Pacific Northwest.
Gotcha. Well, listen, let's just call it for what it is. I mean, you know, those for the most part are the ones that are against gay marriage are not Democrats. Those that are against drag queen reading, that are against any form of, hey, it's okay to be gay, like the Don't Say Gay bill in Florida. And I know a lot of people on the far right would say, Brian, that's not what the bill is. No, that's exactly what it is. If a child raises their hand in Florida and says, what does it mean that I have two dads or two moms? If the teacher answers it responsibly, she can be fired and sued. That's exactly what the bill is. And that's wrong. Now, I'm not saying you should be endorsing, hey, you better be gay, or but that's not what these teachers are doing. They're saying it's okay to be gay. Be who you are. Respect everyone that might be different than you. Be happy with who you are, and there's nothing wrong with that. And I think if the Republican Party would just do that, then people like you wouldn't feel so disenfranchised. You know?
Yep.
I think we've gotten so. Sorry.
No, so I mean, like, look, you have a younger Republican base, as in myself. You know, I wish you lived here in Clark County, Nevada, because then we could be able to talk about this in person. But the younger Republican is not what you're currently seeing on the national stage. It's a more central Republican where we believe in limited government, limited regulations. You know,
Dude, and I get that, but it's the people. It's the people
as long as you're not what you do in your life does not affect me personally, I don't care. Right, and you should be able to have that support as well.
The evangelical right definitely does.
Right.
Yeah. Unfortunately.
So, like, for me, I believe again in lower taxes, less regulation. I believe in bringing more U.S. dollars back to our citizens. I believe in helping homeless and especially our homeless vets. Like all the money. Like, unfortunately, I'm going to say, screw the $95 billion bill that we just passed. Sorry. $95 billion, that's $1 billion to almost every top 100 metropolitan in the U.S. That right there would solve homeless in majority of those, if not half. And so I have an issue with us constantly spending money abroad and not spending it here on local issues where, you know, you can have for gay rights or whatever for women who need women rights, homeless, like that.
I think we can do both. I think we have enough money in this country where we can do both. That's my
opinion. I'm tired of our tax dollars going to things that we just like not a single penny of that bill went to any American. I have an issue with that.
Yeah, I think we can do both. I can understand where you're coming from. But hey, I appreciate the call. Stay strong out there. And, you know, more Republicans need to listen to you. And the reason why they keep losing the popular vote is because of people like you. And I don't blame you for it. And I appreciate you calling in, okay?
All right. Thank you. Have a good day.
Thank you. 702-221-7283. And again, that number if you want to be a part of the program, 702-221-SAVE. Let's go to Carl. Carl is next. What's up, Carl?
Oh, yeah. Hey, Brian. Hope you're doing. We're feeling well. Listen, you asked a question before, or somebody asked you, one of your callers. You mentioned actually that why Trump, never criticizes Putin or anybody like that is because of the old saying. Have you heard it before? Birds of a feather fly together. I think that fits in very well with that.
I think it does.
If you agree with that.
I think it does. And you know.
Hello?
Yeah. I'm hear you. Yeah. I think it does. And, you know, Blake, I talk about this all the time on the show, which is going after a brave man or woman who serves this country honorably, whether it be Nikki Haley's husband or it be, you know, John McCain. It's beneath the pale. It's disgusting. It doesn't matter whether you're a Republican or a Democrat. And it's like now he did it again. He did it with Nikki Haley's husband, right?
I think it's okay for, regardless of party, to just say, I don't agree with the rhetoric. It's okay. It doesn't make me a bad Republican. It doesn't make you a good Democrat to say, to call out anybody that you don't disagree with. Like
Yeah.
hateful rhetoric, I don't like it.
Yeah.
Unfortunately, it's in politics. It's not politics as usual.
Yeah.
Right now, because of social media, it really exacerbates the
Yeah,
issue.
yeah, it's just beneath the pale, and I'm glad Nikki Haley spoke out against it. But the problem I have with Nikki Haley is when she bows out of the race, and it's just a matter of time, she'll probably support Donald Trump. You know, just like Ted Cruz, who said all these things about Donald Trump back in 2016. Every word out of his mouth is a lie. He's despicable. This and that. Calls his wife ugly, and then what does Ted Cruz do? He brown noses him for the next 6 or 7 years. I mean,
Can I say a couple more? Just quick couple more things.
Yeah.
The thing is, the problem is with NATO. We're required to be being part of it. If they're attacked or anything, we're required to go to their defense. And what will happen is Trump wants is Putin to try and attack these, and they'll use a lot more soldiers. If we have to go to their defense, there'll be a lot more American soldiers killed, which is ridiculous.
Mm-hmm.
And the reason we're having a problem with Trump and why he's saying these things is, let me explain something real quick. As you get older and older to a certain age, you build a wall up again in your mind that you don't want to say certain things.
Mm-hmm.
But as you get older, that wall starts to break down, and what's really on your thoughts start to come out.
Sure.
When you're young, you're able to keep that wall up and stop from saying things.
Yeah.
But the older you get, like Trump or whatever, it breaks down the wall, and he's able to psychologically start saying things that he really doesn't want to, but he believes it.
I agree. I think, and I appreciate the call, Carl. Thank you very much. I do believe that sometimes Donald Trump believes things, but tries to hold back and maybe doesn't say them. But I think now that's turning into he's just saying them. He's just saying them, And his comments about NATO, and really, let's just call it for what it is, persuading an evil, murderous dictator, to attack our allies in NATO. To me, it's something else. All right, 702-221-7283 is the number to call. Delani wants to ask Blake a question. Delani, you're on with Blake Gwynn. Go ahead.
Hi, Brian.
Hi, Delani.
I agree with everything you're saying. I just have a question where, I don't know why this whole thing is, confusing about the Nevada thing, about the primary, the caucus. So I just was wondering, if they're worried about the election and everything, why did they have, two different things going on in Nevada for the Republican GOP, primary and the caucus?
Yeah, so the decision was made by the state GOP back when I broke my arm by tripping over my dog. The purpose was because of all the current lawsuits and everything that's been brought forth against Trump, in my belief, was that they can bypass the primary should they say, oh, he's not allowed to participate in the Republican primary. That's what I understand it being. So what was decided was that, because we are a caucus state, you can have a primary, you can have a caucus, was the decision was made to move from a primary to go to a caucus. Now, what that does is it makes you decide which one you're going to do. So to participate in the caucus, I think it was about $50,000. And to participate in the primary, I believe, was nothing. And so, but you can't participate in both. So you have to pick one or the other. And so Nikki Haley probably saw the writing on the wall. She's already come out and said that they didn't spend any money here. So they weren't fully surprised that they got beat by none of the above. But that's really what happened. So it was very confusing at the time. I really had to dig deep back in my bag and my mind and go, God, what happened with this one? And that's what happened. So it was essentially to make sure that he was not off of the primary and that they could overrule the primary and put him onto the ballot if he won the caucus.
Okay, that sounds really confusing.
Well, it is.
I didn't say I agree with it.
They did, and the reason why they made it confusing is Mike McDonald, as I like to call him, Ronald McDonald. He's a lifelong criminal as far as I'm concerned. They did this on purpose because they wanted to confuse people. They wanted to make sure that, in my opinion, that Donald Trump, they do everything they can to make sure he tries to become the next president of the United States. Why? Because they want pardons, because Mike McDonald is a criminal. Jesse Law is a criminal. They were indicted, and I know just because somebody is indicted doesn't necessarily mean that, they're guilty, they're innocent, they're proven guilty. They were part of a fake electorate scheme, and they want to be pardoned. That's exactly what they did. They are criminals, and they are despicable. And the Republican Party, leadership need to be people like Blake. They need to be people that are moderate, that are fair, that are not criminals, that do things the right way, not the people that are running the state right now that the fix is in and they are criminals, the people that still say that Donald Trump won the 2020 election, the people that called January 6th a tourist visit, the people that defend Donald Trump ad nauseum. It doesn't matter what he says. He could be going after Nikki Haley's husband. It doesn't matter what Donald Trump says or does. He could have literally, a case of where he's liable for rape, and they'll still defend him. I don't give those people the time of day. I'll never vote for those kinds of people. It's why I still vote for Republicans, but I vote for reasonable Republicans who are not MAGA supporters.
Yeah, and let me make it very clear to all your viewers. I'm not a Trump sympathizer. I'm not a Republican sympathizer. There are Democrats that I have voted for throughout the state of Nevada because I you know me, Brian. I'm more of a state and local issue guy because I feel like that's where you can really make a difference and change your policy and change your party really here and just give a helping hand. But I'm not that type of Republican. I try to be as central and understanding as possible. But to answer your question fully, that whole caucus first primary confused, I would say, 95% of the Republicans in the state of Nevada.
Yeah. All right. Well, thank you for the call. I appreciate you calling in. Thank you so much.
All right. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye. On a lighter note, because we've been very heavy on politics today, what were your thoughts on the Super Bowl? And what do you think about this Travis Kelce craziness with the relationship that they have and how some of the people on the far right out there have the conspiracy theories going?
Oh, Lord. We just went down this rabbit hole this morning, and I walked out of the room. Look, I was cheering for the 49ers in the Super Bowl. And not because I'm an anti-Mahomes or his brother or Britney or a Taylor Swift. That has nothing to do with it.
You're not a Swiftie, or are you?
I'm not a Swiftie, okay? I'm a bluesgrass kind of, music.
I got you.
Look, I'm a Miami Dolphins fan. I spent 20 years having to fight Tom Brady. Statistically, if you look at it, every other year that dude was in the Super Bowl. That's how great he was.
Yep.
I was rooting for the 49ers because I didn't want another dynasty to be there. I want some more parity within the league. So the whole conspiracy thing, I get there was some like weird satanic, gang signs or whatever while they were taking shots. And look, let me remind everybody, it wasn't Taylor Swift's job to say, put me on the TV. It was the NFL's. And so if you got conspiracy theories about that, it's something you got to live with. But, Alex Jones is probably waiting for you down the road.
Yeah, that's probably pretty well said. Listen, the Chiefs, arguably the best coach in football, the best quarterback in football, the best receiver in football, and well-deserving. With that being said, the 49ers played hard. They played well. It came down to a few plays down the stretch. They stop them on a 4th and 1. They win. They're the Super Bowl champs. So San Francisco put themselves in a position to win that football game.
I didn't know the playoff rules for the Super Bowl.
Yeah,
I didn't know that. Now knowing it, yes, Kyle Shanahan should have.
By the way, that should be the rule for every regular season game as well.
I'm in
my opinion. But yes, I
also love the college
Shanahan
playoff
screwed
rules.
up. I know you're about to say that. Shanahan should not have gotten the ball first.
No.
That was
knowing this now, yes, absolutely.
And I think that the mistake was you're in that regular season mindset where, of course, in the regular season, you want the ball first because if you score a touchdown, the game is over. In the Super Bowl, or in the playoffs, the rules are in the playoffs, where if you score a touchdown, the other team still gets an opportunity. The rules need to be the same for a playoff game, in my opinion, as they are in a regular. And I think Shanahan needs to be better. As I was watching the game with some friends, they all were saying the same thing. Wow, Shanahan just made a mistake. You want to give the ball to the Chiefs first. I don't like a coin flip being so important. I think they need to figure something out when it comes to that. I don't know what that would be.
Maybe you make it like with baseball with the All-Star game.
Yeah.
You know?
It's interesting. And Mahomes actually was doing an interview earlier today in the McAfee show. I wonder if they paid him for it like they pay Aaron Rodgers. But he said he would have gone for 2 points if the 49ers scored a touchdown first in OT, which I find interesting. But that would have been really exciting, too. Listen, it was a fun game. The first half was a little boring because the defenses are so good. Second half was really exciting. It had everything you want in a Super Bowl game and more. Purdy, for his first Super Bowl, being in that position, I thought was very good.
Yeah.
He was very poised, didn't make any mistakes. Mahomes made one mistake the whole game. He threw a pick. Other than that, these two defenses are really, really good.
Yeah, they were really good. I was pretty much just sitting back. I was having a couple scotches and barbecuing for everybody, and just talking football primarily. So to say I fully paid attention to the game would be a lie.
The Kennedy ad was a joke. Can we just admit that? The Robert F. Kennedy Jr. ad was an embarrassment, and there was a reason why members of their family are getting very upset. Trying to compare himself to your uncle. You're not John F. Kennedy, and you're not your father. And the fact that they put out an ad mimicking a John F. Kennedy advertisement is so disgusting, and there's a reason why people are upset over it.
I can understand it.
Yeah.
I didn't really watch all the commercials, so I didn't.
You weren't missing much. I like the Arnold.
To see much until the end.
The DeVito Schwarzenegger commercial was personally my favorite.
I thought the one. I don't know if it aired during the Super Bowl, but it was.
What do you think about
Patrick Stewart and Tua and throwing the kid or the?
What do you think about the Jesus commercials? They did this last year.
I don't think politics or religious commercials should be going on during the Super Bowl.
I agree.
I think keep it to a product, unless you want to call religion a product. But I think, again, here is a game that is supposed to bring everybody together. That's what it does. It brings people who never watch football together, people who won't have a cocktail with you. It brings everybody together. And then you throw in some political BS commercials. You throw in a religious commercial, regardless of who it is. And again, we talk about divisive. It becomes divisive.
I agree with you. I don't want to see politics or religion during the game. Before the game, if people want to peacefully protest when it comes to the national anthem, I've never had a problem with that. But once the game starts, let's focus on the game.
Yeah, absolutely.
Because it's an escape for so many people, right? It's an escape from your everyday troubles, whatever stresses you're going through. And I don't want to see that. It's just kind of like when I'm outside this radio show and I'm at a ball game or I'm out with friends out to dinner. I don't want to talk politics.
You don't want me to come up to you at the UNLV basketball game?
No. And it's like my parents do that too. And I'm like, guys, I don't want to talk about this.
Yeah.
I have to do it. It's draining enough to do this 2 hours a day. I don't want to do it outside the radio show.
Look, I give you credit, man. All the different callers that you've got to experience.
I do have a plethora of different callers. Most of them are very good, by the way. A lot of and it's interesting. I got a call today from Canada.
I heard that one.
I got a call today. What was the other country? That last gentleman just called from Hawaii.
Yeah.
We're getting calls from all over the country.
That's fantastic,
which
man.
is super cool.
Come a long way since I started listening 6 years ago.
6 years ago. Well, I was on a conservative radio station with a bunch of buffoons, many of whom have been fired. So I'm glad that I'm not there anymore. But it's really hard to do the type of show that I want to do, that I do. Yeah, we talk sports and politics and a little bit of everything, right? I do. I do that every morning as well. But to do that, it's very hard to do something like that on a conservative radio station.
No, I get it.
I mean, I was on stations, Blake, with Mark Levin, Sean Hannity, Laura Ingraham, Brian Kilmeade. Do you want to talk about a program director or owners and management that are just so divisive and just want one side all day? It's just ridiculous. And I remember I talked to the owner of a station that I used to work at, like the actual owner.
Yeah.
Oh, so you're the liberal, he says to me. And I give him a look, and I'm like, you freaking moron. You idiot.
I think that's what brought me to listen to your show about 6 years ago was, I love talk radio. I love podcasts. And, when I'm always driving, it makes me feel like I'm not alone. There was nothing different out there. It's all the same.
Yeah.
So if you're that hardcore
Biden in the bunker.
And just,
Yep.
you get 5:30 in the morning, you can get a little Alex Jones going, and then, boom, I had you talking sports, local politics, having actual,
Everything.
Republicans, Democrats onto the show. All except for that one, co-host you had was,
sidekick. But anyway, I want 30 seconds here. I want to give you the opportunity. Blake is a phenomenal person to talk to, real estate. If you're looking to buy or sell a home, give out the information. How can people find you?
Absolutely. My name is Blake Gwynn. I'm with Keller Williams Marketplace. My phone number is 702-540-3311. The market is shifting rapidly. Over 50% of the sales last year were new homes. So if you're curious about new homes versus resale, please reach out. Again, Blake Gwynn, 702-540-3311. And because if you're pushing the limit listener and you give me a call and we close on your transaction, you get $1,000 cash back.
I love it. I love it. Give Blake a call. He's one of the best. He certainly gave some great advice to my family when they recently moved here, so give him a call. Also, follow my socials as well on YouTube, at PTL Radio Show. I'm very active there. I'm also very active on TikTok. I'm active on Facebook. Follow me on all those social medias, at PTL Radio Show. And please click that subscribe button on the Occupy Democrats Network. It's a cup of coffee. It's $5 a month. And you get exclusive content from me and even a personal chat with yours truly. I don't have an OnlyFans page yet. I know Blake would be very interested in that, but I do not. Blake, thank you.
I love gingers.
Thank you. Oh, that's terrible. Everybody threw up in their mouth. No, Blake, thank you so much for being here. And we miss your grandfather very much. We need more Republicans like you and like your late grandfather, no question, Kenny Gwynn. Thanks for joining us, everybody. We'll see you tomorrow, same time, same place. Have a great day, everybody.
Hey everybody, are you struggling to find a pizza place that reminds you of Brooklyn? That true blue New York style pie? Well, worry no more. Stallone's Italian Eatery Pizza